Today, we'll review a week distinguished by outstanding individual performers such as Atlanta's Alfred Jenkins and Buffalo's Joe Cribbs, who both produced 3 touchdown receptions. And we'll offer our usual blend of highlights, features, analysis, and off-the-wall commentary with the help of special guest Allie Sherman.
If you're a football player, get out there and turn up. Get hungry for that yardage. See that taillight and you get up. You get up there. That shows a lack of football feel if you do that.
This is Pro Football, yesterday and today. This is NFL Review and Preview.
This is the NFL Films Library in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I'm Steve Sabol, and along with Harry Callis, welcome to NFL Review and Preview. Our special guest this week is Allie Sherman, who is the senior executive of Warner Communications, but is perhaps better known to all of us football fans as the coach who led the New York Giants to 3 consecutive conference championships in the early 60s. Allie, every coach has his favorite. Lombardi had Paul Hornung, Don Shula had Larry Csonka. You had a lot of great players. Who was your favorite?
I don't know if I ever keyed in on one favorite, Steve. Our teams were, the winning teams, were a bunch of mature people, personalities that had established themselves. I liked them all, especially the ones who committed themselves to it. I really, again, those teams had the Csonka and the Hornung. But
how about your quarterbacks, Allie? You were an old quarterback at Brooklyn College, right? You must have had a special feeling for Connerly or Tittle or...
Coaches always have, if you're working with quarterbacks, you get a little closer with them. And I think I was a beneficiary of 3 outstanding quarterbacks and 3 different personalities. Connerly, who if Charles said 3 words to you for the week, you had a heck of a dialogue, but really performed on the field. Tittle, who was the effervescent, always sophomore guy who always felt he had to go out there and prove it, and he did every week. And Tarkenton, who knew more about the total team. He worried as much about that defensive tackle and linebacker and the offensive guard as he did himself. So I had 3 different personalities.
We'll be taking a look at some of those players, and of course, coaches change and players change over the years. I got to think one of the most pressurized jobs in the NFL has to be being a head coach, and especially if you're a head coach in New York.
Manhattan is an island with a million nameless faces, but a Warner Communications executive named Allie Sherman was once one of New York's most highly visible personalities. As head coach of the New York Giants during the 60s, Sherman left no doubt about who was in charge.
Come on, Eddie, come on. Drive those arms, Eddie, come on. That's better, Eddie. Keep those arms going. Keep those arms going. You're not going to beat anybody in the National League, you new backs skittle-scattling around like that behind line of scrimmage. You see a little something, and if it isn't there, you make one cut and go. You might break the tackle. That's the way you do it in this league. You ain't going to beat these babies. College, maybe. Not here. That's lack of thinking. What you're doing is running like a trained circus horse, showing a coach how nice you can prance. Hell, you better damn well show a coach how nice you hit.
Sherman's hitters included men like Andy Robustelli and Jim Katcavage, and they led New York to the 1961 Eastern Conference Championship in Sherman's first year as head coach. Sherman's quarterback was Y.A. Tittle, an unassuming country gentleman from Marshall, Texas. Tittle's genius lay in his right arm, one of the most accurate in pro football history. Tittle arrived in a trade from San Francisco in 1961, and Sherman plugged him into a system that proceeded to win 3 consecutive division championships, only to have fate intervene. For the NFL title, New York faced the up-and-coming Green Bay Packers and coach Vince Lombardi, who had been a Giant assistant along with Allie Sherman in the 50s. Now, as head coaches, they faced a pivotal game in the course of pro football. Lombardi and the Packers won 2 straight NFL title games from the Giants and went on to greatness. Then in 1963, the Chicago Bears beat New York for the title. Three straight times, the Giants were turned away at destiny's door. and New York slipped out of title contention. Still, Allie always kept things interesting.
You watch Van Horn now. We can't get ourselves hurt. Well, come on over here then and watch him. Whip him now. Let's whip him. Whip him. You got him whipped. Let's whip him.
Under Sherman, New York's attack was wide open and wild with exciting players like Homer Jones, number 45. But when the Giants slipped from the top, New York fans turned into critics. Sherman was talented and bright, but he was no longer winning titles, so he packed up his trick plays and left coaching. Still, the simple fact remains that Allie Sherman was the last coach to lead the New York Giants to a championship.
Allie, I think one of the most remarkable things about your achievements with the Giants is that you had a backfield with no speed. You had Joe Morrison, Phil King, Alex Webster, all a bunch of thumpers and plotters, but no speed merchants. How'd you compensate for that in your offense?
Steve, I hope they don't hear what you said about them. They're a little more than plotters. They did not have speed. They had special skills. Each of them could make that good cut and change of direction. But what we did after that was we used our backs as pass receivers, which they should be doing today, especially with the new pass defense rules. And we threw the backs a lot. And one other thing I can tell now, there are a lot of coaches, defensive coaches, that might be a little angry. There were a great number of ball games we never even had end runs in our game plan. We just decided to run up into the line and throw the ball.
Steve, Allie, and I will be back with more on NFL Review and Preview.
Most coaches today feel that you can't alternate quarterbacks and win. Yet, Allie, in 1961, you alternated Charlie Connerly and Y.A. Tittle, and you won the conference championship. Why did that work for you?
I believe, Steve, it's because of the individuals involved. Number one, the two men were at the same level of their career. Charlie was in his early 40s, and Tittle was rapidly getting there. They had both, no one had to worry about vegetating. They just wanted to win. And what we did was we sat down together in front of the season, and we decided mutually that I would make the decision as to who played and who didn't, and if I was right, we were going to go get it and have a shot, and if I was wrong, we were going down together. And, you know, believe it or not, both of them participated, though. Tittle won a lot of games for us, and Charlie Connerly came off the bench in 3 ball games and won them, and he was just as important as the other guy.
Two current teams in the NFL that have young quarterbacks are the Jets and the Giants, and last week they battled for Big Apple bragging rights.
New York, New York. The song says if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Get to the top of the heap in Gotham and they'll toast you from Bowery to Broadway. But fall from grace and you're yesterday's news. Last week, New York's Jets and New York's Giants sought to become kings of the hill in a town that loves a winner. The Jets' Richard Todd and Wesley Walker, number 85, made a spirited grab for the crown. But in seeking Big Apple bragging rights, the Jets encountered problems when punter Chuck Ramsey displayed hands that were nothing to brag about. For the second straight week, the Giants' special teams produced a touchdown as number 28, Beasley Reese, recovered Ramsey's miscue in the end zone. But when the Giants attempted to mount an offense, Phil Simms was frustrated by a Jets pass rush known as the New York Sack Exchange. This unit accounted for 9 sacks. If the Stock Exchange was as healthy as the Sack Exchange, the recession would come to an abrupt end. Especially healthy was number 73, Joe Klecko, who made short work of Simms' pass protection. Klecko registered 3 sacks, while 4 more were turned in by number 99, Mark Gastineau, who, like Klecko, simply out-muscled Giant blockers. While the Jets' pass rush pummeled Simms, the knockout punch was delivered by defensive back Darrell Ray, number 28. Ray traveled 64 yards with his 6th interception of the season and capped a 26-7 Jets victory. While the Jets became the toast of New York, New York, the Houston Oilers were seeking control of a different kind of territory, the tightly bunched AFC Central Division. A Ken Stabler touchdown pass to Mike Renfro, number 82, got the Oilers an early lead against the Bengals. And after Stabler left the game with an injury, John Reese continued the passing heroics with a 51-yard bomb to number 00, Ken Burrow. But for the rest of the day, Cincinnati unveiled a gallery of big plays while the Oilers were reduced to statues. The Bengals occasionally stood still too, but when they did, substantial gains resulted, especially on this draw play by Pete Johnson, number 46. Johnson rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown, while Ken Anderson threw for 3 scores in Cincinnati's 34-21 win. With sole possession of first place in the AFC Central, the Bengals had good reason to be animated. In Southern California, however, matters are approached in a more laid-back fashion. Welcome to mellow San Diego, where the citizens get their heads straight with yoga, hot tubs, and the like. But San Diego's Chargers can strike like lightning, and number 79, Gary Johnson, was particularly quick in disrupting the plans of Kansas City. The Chiefs were stalled by 5 fumbles, and while the Chargers were also plagued by sloppy ball handling, the aerial mastery of Dan Fouts gave them an edge. Fouts' passing was one reason why the Chiefs faced a 19-7 halftime deficit. But Bill Kenny engineered a resurgence with the help of determined receivers like rookie tight end Willie Scott, number 81. In the second half, Kenny passed for 1 score and set up 2 field goals. The Chiefs assumed a 20-19 lead as their receivers demonstrated some novel methods of advancing the ball. With less than 2 minutes remaining in the game, the Chargers were faced with a 4th and 9 situation and appeared to be finished. Appearances were deceiving. Fouts' 23-yard pass to number 86, Wes Chandler, gave San Diego a new lease on life. And Rolf Benerschke capitalized with a 22-yard field goal. The Chargers' 22-20 victory put them into a 3-way tie for first in the AFC West and proved that even laid-back Southern Californians can get animated too. Being king of the hill can have that kind of effect, whether the hill is in New York, New York, or atop a hotly contested NFL division.
We'll be back with a Mazda Outlook, a spotlight on Doug Williams, and more on NFL Review and Preview.
Last year, the Bengals scored the fewest points in the AFC. This year, Allie, only the Chargers have scored more than the Bengals. I'm going to take San Diego in this game.
I think you got a good basis, Steve, but be careful. The Chargers do have a suspect defense. That's where they can get hurt.
How about the Jets and the Colts?
I believe the Jets should win, but there's a way that the Colts can win it, and that's if Burt Jones, who's capable of doing it, can throw that ball about 14 or 15 yards in the middle, and that's where the Jets get hurt on defense.
I'm going to go with the Colts, Allie. They've always played well against the Jets, and last year they beat the Jets twice.
Be my guest.
On September 24th, 1960, a ragtag expansion team called the Dallas Cowboys played their very first NFL game. Their quarterback was number 14, Eddie LeBaron, and his passing performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers was outstanding. As the Cotton Bowl crowd looked on in disbelief, LeBaron led the new kids on the block to 21 first-half points. Unfortunately for Dallas, the Cowboy defense surrendered points just as quickly. Throughout their history, the Dallas Cowboys have always been vulnerable to good passing attacks. It's been that way since their very first NFL game. On the other hand, they've always been able to score points. And when LeBaron threw his third touchdown pass of the game, Dallas seesawed back in front 28-21. But on this night, Steeler quarterback Bobby Lane was too much for the young Cowboy defense. 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes gave the Steelers a hard-fought 35-28 win. The first NFL loss for the Dallas Cowboys and their rookie head coach, Tom Landry.
This week, the Cowboys play the Bills on Monday night. Coach, who's the winner?
I got to like the Bills because the only way you're going to beat the Cowboys is by the pass, Steve, and the Bills do it well. They throw to the backs and the ends, and they do it well.
Dolphins and the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Patriots in an upset. They always play well in Foxborough against the Dolphins.
Steve-O, that will be an upset. I think that the Dolphins have got too much going in both their pass and running game, and it is one of the best coached football teams.
Well, last week, the Patriots spent yet another Sunday in the dentist chair, this time in Oakland, where the Raiders yanked out a 27-17 victory.
3 weeks ago, in their continuing quest for the goal line, the Oakland Raiders handed the quarterbacking reins to Mark Wilson. While Wilson did not light up the scoreboard, at least he put the Raiders on the scoreboard. Last week against the Patriots, Wilson looked to ring up some big numbers in a hurry. This 80-yard touchdown to Cliff Branch on the game's first play was nullified by a penalty. Thus reprieved, the Patriots, with the help of this touchdown by Don Hasselbeck, number 80, rebounded to take a 17-13 fourth-quarter lead. The Raiders had not scored a touchdown in the second half since the third game of the season. But Wilson finally broke the spell when he hit Branch for the go-ahead score with 8 minutes remaining. Perhaps the magic of the silver and black is coming back. When Willie Jones, number 90, scored the clinching touchdown on a fumble recovery, the Raiders had a 27-17 win, their second in 3 weeks. The Patriots, on the other hand, are battling the Baltimore Colts for last place in the AFC East. Against division rival Miami, the Colts continued their plunge into darkness. Even bright moments like this Raymond Butler touchdown were extinguished as Baltimore had 2 scores called back due to penalties. Burt Jones's powerful right arm cannot do it by itself. Jones' mistakes have been magnified in 1981 as Baltimore's defense has not been effective, ranking last in the NFL. The Colts were easy pickings for Miami quarterback David Woodley, who could almost afford to lay down on the job and still get it done. Woodley ran for 1 score and threw for 2 others as the Dolphins remained in first place in the AFC East, giving Baltimore its 8th straight loss, 27-10. 2 up-and-down teams met last week in Washington, and the Redskins used a potent offense to avenge an early season loss to the St. Louis Cardinals. Virgil Say, number 80, scored on a 51-yard pass play, one of 3 touchdowns thrown by Joe Theismann. But the key to Washington's victory was the running game, as blocks like this by number 88 Rick Walker sprung number 44 John Riggins loose against the Cardinals' weak rushing defense. Art Monk's second touchdown catch of the game helped wrap up a convincing 42-21 Redskins win. It was Washington's second win in a row, and a sign perhaps that the Redskins, although not likely playoff contenders, will be ready for a chance to play spoiler. Brian Sipe was cool, calm, and collected when he entered Buffalo's Rich Stadium last Sunday. Little did he know that evil spirits lurked about, plotting for nasty things to happen. If only Brian knew what was in store for him against those ill-tempered Bills. Sipe went down twice, but each time he came back. It was his touchdown pass to Ozzie Newsome, number 82, in the fourth quarter that pulled Cleveland to within 2 of the Bills. Sipe's courage was merely a page in this NFL story. A whole chapter belonged to Bills running back Joe Cribbs. Cribbs, number 20, rushed for 85 yards and caught 5 passes for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. About the only thing that stopped him all day was the wall in the corner of the end zone. It was Cribbs' third touchdown reception, a 60-yard catch and carry that iced Buffalo's 22-13 win over the Browns. For the Bills, Cribbs' tidal wave was but a prelude to their interconference matchup with Dallas this week.
Allie, the Cleveland Browns playing in the Mile High City. Who do you like in this one?
Harry, I have to like those Broncos. They have great linebackers. The Cleveland team has a real strong passing attack, but they don't have enough running power to threaten those linebackers, and I think the defense of the Broncos will handle it.
Here's an interesting NFC Central matchup, Tampa Bay at Minnesota. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers' chances will hinge on their quarterback. This week our spotlight shines on Doug Williams.
Tampa Bay's Doug Williams is perhaps the NFL's finest athlete at his position. Williams can do things very few quarterbacks can do. He possesses imposing physical abilities not traditionally found in the men who play quarterback. Williams simply does not fit the classic quarterback mold. He plays more with passion than finesse. His unique approach and talents have generated much criticism.
You got to have confidence in yourself. You know, you got to tell yourself that no matter what people say about you, you still got to go out and do a job. And I feel like around this league, you know, maybe early part of my career, I didn't get the respect that I probably deserved. But now I feel like I go into a lot of plays and a lot of people say, hey, you know, he might not be the greatest percentage passer in the world, but he can do some things that some quarterbacks can't do. I feel like if you're going to play this game, you got to play it 110%. You know, you can't play it shy, you can't play it being careful.
Williams is bold and daring, never conservative. His size and strength enable him to improvise when disaster appears imminent.
He's a big guy. I mean, he shouldn't be playing quarterback. I could see him lining up with a 50 number on playing linebacker.
Doug's like tackling a train. I tell you, that guy, I mean, he probably, between him and Vince, I don't know who's the best running quarterback. Doug is, he's a great athlete. He's 6'4", I think 215, 220. He's strong as an ox. I've seen him run over a couple of defensive backs, you know, going towards the goal line.
Attached to this powerful body is an arm that can effortlessly throw a football 60 yards, making Williams ideally suited for the wide-open style of the 80s. But Williams has been burdened by one nagging criticism. He's inconsistent because he completes less than 50% of his passes.
I never got hung up on the percentage pass because I don't think percentage pass win championships. It's very seldom that you find a quarterback in the Super Bowl or winning a big game with 65 and 70% passing.
His percentage is not that good right now, but hey, he's completing some touchdown passes and he can rifle it out there at any time.
But that also gives you the opportunity to make a big play because sometimes he doesn't read the coverage correctly or he just simply tries to muscle the ball into the coverage.
You got to get the ball in the end zone in order to win, and that's the way I feel.
Against the Lions earlier this season, Williams did just that. 4 times. He completed just 13 of his 29 passes, but he threw 4 touchdowns as the Bucs easily defeated the Lions. It remains to be seen whether or not Williams will become a great NFL quarterback. Despite his superior physical attributes, he cannot seem to shake the tag that he's inconsistent as a result of his low completion percentage. Perhaps it will take team success for Williams to be recognized as an outstanding individual player. Maybe then people will come to realize that there's nothing wrong with being a quarterback in the Doug Williams mold.
You know, Harry, young Williams is becoming a real quarterback. He's a passer now, not just a thrower, and he can run with the football. And I believe that that's the chance the Bucs have to beat the Vikings. Williams making a big play.
Interesting pick.
Last year in the playoffs, the Raiders defeated the Oilers 27-7. And after the game, Lester Hayes said, "The Oilers are all brawn. There's not much logic or smarts to their game." Now that, Harry, is choice bulletin board material.
Yes, it is.
Revenge is going to be a factor in this game. I'm going to pick Houston.
I can't go along with you, revenge or not. I like the Oakland Raiders in that game. Another good matchup has the St. Louis Cardinals playing at home against Philadelphia. And when St. Louis and Philadelphia meet, anything can happen. Back in 1962, the Eagles' Sonny Jurgensen passed for 5 touchdowns, 420 yards, and lost.
On December 16, 1962, fabled Eagles linebacker Chuck Bednarik, number 60, said a final farewell to pro football. From opening whistle to final gun, the game produced a season's worth of excitement on a single Sunday afternoon. The Eagles appeared unbeatable behind the slingshot arm of Sonny Jurgensen and the sure hands of a tiny toe-headed receiver named Tommy McDonald. Jurgensen threw 5 touchdown passes, and the acrobatic McDonald, number 25, caught 3 of them. For the beleaguered keeper of statistics, the need for a calculator became evident with the entrance of number 22, running back Timmy Brown. Brown scored twice, and his 341 yards of total offense helped him set both the NFL single game and season records for combined yardage. Incredibly, even with this diverse and bountiful offense, the Philadelphia Eagles lost the football game. Generaled by number 12, Charlie Johnson, the St. Louis attack exposed the deficiencies of an Eagles secondary that functioned somewhere between a trance and a deep sleep. The Cardinals dug deep into their playbook and pulled out one trick play after another. This varied offense rolled up almost 600 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 45-35 victory. It was ironic that on a day when both teams combined for an NFL record 834 yards passing, one of the sport's greatest defenders, Hall of Fame linebacker Chuck Bednarik, played his last game.
The Philadelphia-St. Louis encounter this year will not be that kind of aerial circus. The St. Louis Cardinals have been up and down each week. This is their week to be up, but Allie Sherman, I still like Philadelphia.
Harry, I agree with you. I truly do, and I think you're very perceptive. I believe that the St. Louis passing style, Jim Hart likes to throw that ball deep, and that isn't the thing to do against the Eagles. Eagle linebackers can drop deep enough to help those people back in the secondary, and I think that takes St. Louis offense out of the ball game.
Another game this week, Allie, is the Steelers and the Seahawks. And if you took all the yards that the Seahawks defense has given up, Allie, and piled them on top of each other, you'd be looking down on Mount St. Helens. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Here is this week's Prudential Puzzler. I played the defensive line for the Dallas Cowboys for 13 years. In my career, I scored 4 touchdowns, all against the Washington Redskins. Who am I? Here's the answer to the Prudential Puzzler. I scored 4 touchdowns, all against the Redskins. Who am I? I am Larry Cole, wearing number 63 for the Dallas Cowboys. I played in 5 Super Bowls, but I seem to be remembered most for scoring 4 touchdowns against the Washington Redskins. Of course, when you're a defensive lineman, that's a rather remarkable feat.
The Chicago Bears have the worst defense against the rush in the NFC. And since they're playing the Chiefs, who have the most prolific running attack in all the NFL, it looks like a bad day for the Munsters of the Midway. I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
I agree with you. I like Kansas City.
The beginning of the season, the 49ers were just a little blip on the radar screen. Now they're a full-fledged assault fleet, and they always play the Falcons well in Candlestick. I'm going to take San Francisco.
Atlanta must win that game to keep things tight in the NFC West. I like the Atlanta Falcons, even though last week at Pittsburgh, the 49ers showed that they certainly are for real.
Their intensity does not yield the same results as it did in seasons past, but the Pittsburgh Steelers' ability to strike quickly remains intact. In 1 minute 46 seconds of the third period, the Steelers converted 2 San Francisco turnovers into touchdowns. One a 50-yard interception return by Mel Blount, number 47. Following a second interception, a Terry Bradshaw to Jim Smith connection put Pittsburgh up by 14-10, a lead they held into the fourth period. But it was 6 Pittsburgh turnovers that did the Steelers in. A touchdown return by cornerback Eric Wright, number 21, was called back. But one of 3 San Francisco thefts set up the 49ers' final drive, culminated by Walt Easley's 1-yard score. The 17-14 win was the Niners' 6th straight and ensured them sole possession of first place in the NFC West. First place in the NFC East belonged to Philadelphia, but last Sunday the Eagles were forced to share the top spot with the Dallas Cowboys. The pattern of this rivalry was familiar. The Eagles took a 14-3 lead into the last period with the longest touchdown reception in Harold Carmichael's career. Good for 85 yards. But an 11-point edge is seldom sufficient against the Cowboys, whose comeback charisma is perpetuated by quarterback Danny White, number 11, and by receivers like Tony Hill, number 80. Danny White, the coolest head in Veterans Stadium, bailed out of a busted play and eased 6 points into the hands of Doug Cosby, number 84, to cut the Eagle lead to 4. Penalties and poor field position plagued Philadelphia during their scoreless fourth period, and Dallas capitalized with a final 39-yard drive, capped by Tony Dorsett's 9-yard scoring burst. The Eagles had more than 5 minutes to win or tie. They did neither. Dorsett's touchdown held up when Tony Franklin hooked a 34-yard field goal attempt with less than 2 minutes to play. The 17-14 loss dropped the Eagles from their vaunted perch and into a first-place tie with their star-kissed neighbors from Texas. One star-kissed individual was among the NFL's leading runners, but for George Rogers, the sky fell in against a group of gang tacklers from Atlanta. Rogers' running routes looked good on paper, but last Sunday the paper was of poor stock. and easily crumbled. Rodgers' 20 yards rushing was his weakest effort of the season, but he still attracted the crowd at the line and provided the decoy for the Saints' lone touchdown of the day, a 46-yard flea flicker to Guido Merkins, number 19, who tied the game at 10. Merkins' big effort couldn't compare to that of a big league small fry named Alfred Jenkins, number 84, who went to work on the Saints and the Atlanta record book. The 5'7" receiver exploded for 5 receptions, 179 yards, and became the first Falcon ever to catch 3 touchdown passes in a game. The Falcons, who lost 3 of their last 4 games by a total of 8 points, upped their record to 5-4 with a 41-10 win. Still 2 games behind their next opponents and division rivals, the upstart 49ers.
Allie, here's an interesting matchup. Detroit at the nation's capital.
It is. It's 2 good ball clubs, really. The Skins are coming on. They're better, Harry. But the Lions have got too much offensive power, and I think I'm going with the Lions.
And the New Orleans Saints at Los Angeles. Who do you like?
I've got to like the Rams.
I like Los Angeles, too. They got off to a slow start, but they are really rolling now as they did last week against Detroit.
It's been said that football is 1/2 skill and 1/2 spirit. Motivating players has become a serious yet unusual team practice, ranging from the Rams' hard-headed tactics to the tender, loving care doled out by the Lions. The Lions left their soft touch on the sidelines as their defense took solid shots at Ram quarterbacks. With 5 team sacks, Detroit's Silver Rush denied the Rams ball control and enabled a spirited Lion offense opportunities to attack Los Angeles. This screen pass to Horace King was the longest of just 7 Lion completions for the day. Yet quarterback Eric Hipple has proven that he is more timely than pass efficient. After accounting for 9 touchdowns in his last 2 games, Hipple has demonstrated an uncanny knack for finding the end zone, as he did with number 81, David Hill. The Lions forged a 13-7 fourth-quarter lead, but it was too small a margin to outdistance the Rams' big play capabilities. L.A. gained nearly half of their total yardage on 2 plays, a 64-yard pass to wide receiver Preston Denard, and a 69-yard up-the-gut sprint by running back Wendell Tyler. Tyler's dash helped to nail down a 20-13 win and push the Rams over the 500 mark. After a shaky start, Tyler and the Rams seemed to be back in top form, much like the recent performance of Bears star running back Walter Payton, number 34. After gaining his first 100-yard game of the season a week earlier, Payton gained 95 more by going around, through, and over the Tampa Bay defense. Despite suffering from injuries, Payton proved to be a one-man show as he was involved with 33 different plays and scored the Bears' lone touchdown. However, he was unable to single-handedly offset the quick striking power of Buccaneer quarterback Doug Williams. This touchdown to number 89 Kevin House marked the 4th time that Williams and House have sparked a come-from-behind Tampa Bay victory. In 1981, Williams has consistently delivered the big blow, and none have been bigger than this team record-breaking 81-yard pass to tight end Jimmy Giles. The Bucs went on to win 20-10 and improved their record to 5-4. They now are tied with the Vikings on top of the NFC Central Division and have their sights aimed on undisputed claim of first place. The same cannot be said of the Seattle Seahawks, who have looked in every conceivable direction in search of a winning formula. After the season's first 8 weeks, the Seahawks had the league's 3rd weakest offense. But against the Packers, the Seahawks got some scoring punch by way of Dan Dornick, number 33. Twice Dornick came out of the backfield to put the Seahawks on the board, but his efforts were countered by Packer reserve quarterback David Whitehurst, who completed 61% of his passes and appeared flawless near the goal line. Since the addition of John Jefferson, number 80 James Lofton has received single coverage and has emerged as the NFC's biggest gaining receiver. With 2 All-Pros in the lineup, the Packers can't help being pass-happy, a trait that at times has turned into a detriment. Safety John Harris's touchdown return was one of 3 plays that pushed the Seahawks into the lead. But despite this breakdown in the Packer passing game, Green Bay once again targeted its hottest receiver. Lofton's second touchdown of the game was a decisive blow in securing a 34-24 win, and nudged the 3-6 Packers to within 2 games of the division leaders. To some, sitting in 4th place in football's weakest division is something to get upset about. But to the Packers, every game is celebrated with emotional approval.
This week, the Giants play the Packers, and Allie, this matchup has got to bring back some memories for you.
It was something special, Steve. Giants Green Bay, and we went in to play a first championship game against them in Green Bay, and a little cool, you know, because it gets cool in September. But I'll never forget how they started to work on us before we ever got on the field. The very first morning we were there, the wake-up call from the operator went in the following fashion to our ball players. Good morning, this is Titletown, USA, and it's only 8 degrees above out there.
Well, it hasn't been Titletown, USA for a few years anyhow, and New York has been a good team on the road. I like the Giants in that game. Allie Sherman, thanks a lot for being our guest. We appreciate it.
Harry, thank you. It was a treat to be with you.
For Allie Sherman and Steve Sable, Harry Callis reminding you that next week our special guest will be Tom Matte. We hope you'll join us on NFL Review and Preview.